right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. As always, remember, hit that subscribe, like, comment button down below so we continue to help this thing grow and get cool coaches on so we can continue to have people come on here and get knowledge and learn from one another as we continue to see the Coach's Compass go all across the world. It's your boy, Coach Coop, reporting live from Europe. Our boy, Coach Jay, can't be here with us today. Unfortunately, he's traveling to Milan right now because he's still playing in the ELF, finishing up on his last year of playing. So he'll go ahead and on his travel day before they have a game against the Milan Seamen. But as always, got a cool guest with us today. We got our boy, Coach Matt. He is a sports performance coach. He has a CPT. He is inspiring and developing athletes, also inspiring himself to try out for the CFL. He is currently at the University of New Brunswick playing outside linebacker. He also used to play junior hockey, stopped after COVID, but was a multi-sport athlete in high school and decided from there that he was going to focus more on the football side. And he is out of Brantford, Ontario, aka Canada, in the house today. Coach Matt, welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Appreciate having me, and good luck to Jay and playing Milan. That's sick, man. Good luck to him. Hope
Yeah,
he has a
man.
good day of travel. Safe travels.
I hope he gets there safe. I hope they do something
Yeah.
well out there tomorrow because it's been a little bit of up and down for them over there with the Enthroners. But hey, I'm retired, so I got plenty of time now. But Coach, what got you interested in the strength and conditioning world?
Yeah, so I was training. I used to train with a lot of high level coaches for hockey, and then after COVID, I just started doing my own thing, training athletes. I always trained hockey players with skill development. I just saw that a lot of athletes had a lack of not so more not so more strength, but sports performance. They weren't performing at the highest level they could. So I wanted to get into strength and conditioning, but also sports performance kind of world, and got into it after COVID. I was pursuing my own football journey, and I noticed, okay, I can help a lot of athletes here do well, and so I started my own business, and that's how I got into it for sure.
Man, what is that transition like though, bro? From going from hockey to football, not only playing hockey to playing football now, but also training hockey players to training football players. Like what's the differences in those two and how did you navigate through that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of differences. I mean, the biggest ones like different because hockey you're training a lot more endurance, a lot more speed, right? You got to be fast. Where football it's a lot more strength. And I train all types of athletes. I just focus with me on football and a lot of other athletes on football, but I train every type of athlete. But yeah, the biggest difference from hockey to football is the endurance and the speed and the strength. A lot of guys in hockey aren't as strong as football, obviously, and it's a different type of training where hockey, it's more like we gotta do well to perform on the ice, or football, it's more there's different positions, different strengths, different speeds, different body types. So it is different, but the biggest thing for me moving forward with, football was just working on how my body moved and getting heavier, but making sure I was putting on the right weight. So in a sense, it was harder, but it was more fun, and it was a good transition for sure.
How is it going from I mean you're showing up to practice and games and
Yeah,
on skates, now you're putting on
yeah,
cleats. You know what I mean? What is that like?
yeah. So I mean, I played a year in high school football. Wasn't the best, and then I kind of stopped for hockey. I stopped playing hockey for football. I didn't want to get hurt in high school, so I stopped. And then when COVID hit, I was kind of done playing hockey. I wasn't gonna go play at university, and I said, okay, how can what sport can I try to go play at university again, right? And then I said, I actually went and worked out with a CFL, a guy who played in the CFL for a couple of years. He had his own gym, and he's like, you got to get good enough athleticism to get back into it and start playing. And wasn't too bad. I mean, I'd say the transition was harder in the IQ standpoint, the film, getting back. That's the biggest thing, right? Like the film and the study and knowing where to be on the field. The transition athletically wasn't too big. I'm a great athlete, so I just was able to get right into it. But transition was the playbook, right? Being at a higher level, having more plays to understand, knowing where to be, that kind of thing. So it wasn't too hard of a transition athletically, just mentally and IQ wise.
Right, because I mean the game of football is very technical, and then Canadian game is completely different than what we do down in America, right? Because you guys play differently up there. Because I spent 2 years up in Canada. I was with the Alouettes and I was with the Calgary Stampeders. That whole receivers running at you thing is tough to get used
Yeah.
to, bro. And then learning a whole playbook, and then some coaches teaching you the catch technique, and then all that stuff. Like, and you guys are 1 yard off the ball. The field is wider, deeper end zone, like the field goal post at the front. That's a lot to transition into. But you've also kind of built a platform like on social media that is huge, bro. Like we're looking at all the stuff that you're doing on there. How have
Appreciate it.
you used social media to leverage your business and kind of grow and be successful in this field?
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it's a totally different game up here in Canada and the US. And for defense, I would say playing Canada as a linebacker, safety, DB, and even defensive line, like it's way harder in Canada than it is in the US, I think, in my opinion. Because like we just said, 1 yard off the ball. In Canada, it's 65 yards wide field. In the US, it's I believe 52 and a half, right? The business, the Instagram, the socials, I've just been able to kind of leverage with putting out good content, mixing in my own content with just showing what other people, like other athletes are doing, and telling athletes what not to do, what to do. And I preach a lot on, good movement skills and techniques and not putting on a lot of weight, not lifting a lot of weight, and more so focusing on being explosive and when we have a good base of strength, we don't need to get more strong. We just need to be strong enough, right? So I kind of preach that where it's all about movement skills, being faster, being more explosive, because you know it, playing at a high level for football, you don't have to be the strongest, you just have to be strong enough. You don't have to be the fastest, you just have to be the fast enough. But if you can move your body well, it's going to lead you up for success later down your career, right?
Right, man. And where you like taking this from, and where you learning these methodologies and this philosophy? Like, what coaches are you looking up to, and kind of taking bits and pieces from them and implementing it into your own training programs?
Yeah, so 100%. So I mean, the biggest guys I've looked up to when I was younger was Matt Nichol, strength coach for the NHL, and he created BioSteel, and then Gary Roberts as well, strength coach for the NHL. When I was a young kid, I would always, watch them and see how they're doing. Honestly, a lot of like sprint and the track and field coaches as well, seeing how they train their athletes. I mean, I'm still young. I'm only 23, right? So I'm learning every day. I don't know everything, so I got to keep learning on how to work on, training athletes better and all the little details. But for me, it's not too many people I'm looking up to. It's more so how can I be better in talking and communicating with the athlete and relating to the athlete on how to be better, right? So I don't look up to too many people. I try to just stay dialed in on me and improve myself to give the best benefit to the athlete.
Yeah, man. I mean, you talk about being a young guy in the game, right? Being 23,
Yeah.
like it's tricky when in a world in a space that
Yeah.
technically you could have access to and like reach out to on social media and whatnot, but you're right there in Ontario, on Brantford, right? How is it for you getting the athletes to work with you?
Yeah, so I know that, there's a lot of people out there with a lot more knowledge, a lot more experience, but I say for me, what I leverage to my ability is I'm still playing, right? Well, a lot of these great coaches, and nothing to say bad about them, a lot of the great coaches are done playing, right? Well, as we move forward in the coaching space, the game's always changing, right? The little insights and tips that athletes think the coaches know, they might not know because they're out of the game, right? So when I get an athlete to train with me, the biggest thing is, hey man, like, or a guy or girl. I'm trying to get to the next level with you, right? I'm almost there. I'm a step ahead of you, but I'm gonna show you what the level's like, right? How to get there, and then we can get you there. So I think the biggest thing for me moving forward is relatability and being and showing my personality and because as a player and a guy who wants to train with the coach, the biggest thing they want to see is, okay, what's his philosophy like? How is he going to relate to me? And how is he going to train me, right? So it is, tough because I know there's a lot of people in the industry with a lot of experience, and that's amazing for them, and it's great. But I'm just got to keep growing, keep trying to improve my brand, improve myself. But the biggest thing I'd say is relatability. If I'm relatable and the athletes can see, okay, this guy knows his stuff, right? They're going to train with me and then it's going to be great. And we're going to help athletes. Well, we're helping athletes get to the next level every day.
Yeah, man, I dig that, bro. But on top of
Appreciate it.
that, like you're also you're playing, right? So you're trying to
Yeah.
train yourself. You're coaching athletes. Who's coaching Coach Matt? You know what I mean? Who's looking at your stuff and like,
Yeah.
who, like there's little details that we have that go into it.
Yeah.
That in everything we do. Like
100%.
when we're doing the 40, we're doing the 5-10-5, we're doing the L drill, right? We're going out there playing outside linebacker. Like, yeah, we can
Yeah.
study the film and like we can look at it from our eye, but what's the other set of eyes that you have helping you out?
That's just me.
I'm
Yeah.
grinding
It's just,
alone.
yeah. Yeah. I just, I'm very like technical. I'll always film how I'm running, how I'm training. And right now in the off season, for me, I was pretty just more maintenance right now. My training was more in the off season in the winter, right? I gained a bunch of muscle. I got all the strength in the off season in January, February, March, April, and now it's just I lift twice a week right now, and I'm on the field 3 times, and I got track workout. So for me right now, I'm not really training the hardest. I'm just more maintaining, getting ready for the season because once you get in the season, it's long, and you have the
Long.
biggest thing. Yeah, the biggest thing you got to make sure your body's good, right? Longevity is more money, more playing time, more career, right? So the biggest thing for me is just recovery. If I know my body the best, I know it so well. So if I don't feel like going one day, I used to be back in the day where I'd like, okay, I have to go like 100% every day. And now I'm more like, okay, if I don't feel good today, there's no reward in me pushing it. Because if the risk to reward for injury is too high, like why would I train, right? If I'm trying to be my best and I'm already strong enough, right? I'm already feeling good and I only have to do so much now to stimulate my muscles because I want to maintain the longevity. So for me, it's just knowing my body, recovering well, sleeping, sleeping well, eating well. I always love seeing, I used to have a lot of trainers, but I just found that for me, I know my body best and I do my own thing. I'm always researching on the internet, new techniques and stuff, but yeah,
That's
it's
what's up,
great.
bro.
I'm dialed in, man.
Yeah, that boy locked and loaded. I love it. But
Yes, sir.
what are so if you could for like some of our listeners out there, what does a
Yeah.
recovery day look like for Coach Matt? And also what are the supplements, nutrients you're also using to kind of replenish the body and help you be at your peak performance when it's time to go?
Yes, peak recovery day probably will be get up around 10, 10 a.m. Usually I'm getting up around 6 or 7. So 10, sleep in a bit, let the body recover a bit. And then I'll go to the field around 12. I'll do like active recovery, do some light plyometrics, light speed, and then come home, relax, roll out, have any sessions, do any emails. So roll out and then either an ice bath at night or an Epsom salt bath, and then I might walk the dog as well. And then supplements, usually I'm just taking creatine right now and a bit of casein protein, and then I got some vitamin B12, vitamin C, vitamin D, and magnesium. So nothing too crazy. I'm not too big on the supplements right now. It's more just creatine and some vitamins. I think the best supplements food and protein. So it's tough. A lot of people,
Hey, no, I
but
agree, man. Like the only real like supplement I agree with you on the creatine, and I only use
yeah,
protein pre workout. I don't do protein stuff because I eat enough food, and then take
yeah,
vitamins and whatnot, and roll from there. Um, so I mean, everybody has their thing, right? Everybody's body's makeup is different, and what do you use, and if it works for you, use it, right? That's cool, but
100%.
everyone's completely different. And then you go into like you're getting ready for a college season. What is because again, Canada's different, right? I don't know. I don't even know
Yeah.
how college works in Canada for football and whatnot. What is it? What is it like?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's different than the US, right? It's way different. Like the camps aren't as long. The season, we're only playing about 6 to 8 games up here in Canada. It's the intensity's there. The intensity's the same. I would say the schedule's a bit less on the body, and then in the off season, it's not as crazy. So, kind of in Canada, from what I've heard from where my experiences and other teammates playing at different levels in Canada, the off season you kind of you do your own team workouts, but that's about it. They might have some field sessions, but it's tough, right? Because there's no like once winter hits, you can't really
It's
do
cold.
sprints outs. Yeah, you can't do sprints outside when there's 20 centimeters of snow on the ground, right? It's a different level up here compared to the States, where it's not as it's not as intense. There's not enough money in it, but the athletes are the same. Like I was down in the States for a CFL tryout 2 months ago, and the athletes are the same. The only thing I'd say from Canada to US, the only difference is when our season stops in December, guys aren't running, guys aren't doing any sprints unless you have an indoor facility, right? When the guys stop in the States, when their season's done in Florida, they're doing sprints the day after their season, right? Because they got warm weather. And all those southern states, right? So that's the only difference. Like the athletes are the same up here, but again, there's not as much, our sport up here in Canada is hockey, right?
Right.
US is football. So it's the same with the US for hockey. The players are good down there. They just don't have as many resources that we have in the game, right? So that's the best way to describe it. The level is there. Like we had a kid on our team this past season get an NAIA scholarship, right? So the level is pretty similar. I'd say the best school up here in Canada, probably Western. If they went and played a D1 school, it'd be close in the first half, but they get beat pretty bad in the second.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
mean,
just we don't have the bodies either, right? Like it's a faster game up here, so the body type is a bit smaller as well. But again, there'll be guys playing up here and they'll go down to the States and play. One of my best buddies from high school, he got a scholarship to Mississippi Valley State, 6'5", 340 offensive lineman, right? There's a lot of good talent up here, and there's a lot of good prep schools coming up now. There's so much more resources being built up here. But again, faster game, there's a bit smaller body types. There's a bunch of things going on where it's a different game. But at the end of the day, we hit as hard, right? So
I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, because most of you guys are coming from hockey to hockey is a very contact sport, right? And you ain't got to
yeah.
like not everybody got a face mask on and everything like that, and you guys are stopping on those skates super fast and everything. Like I know if you guys can hit in hockey, it can translate over to football. But what is the what's the because college like I said college up there is different. What's the length of college you guys can go to up there? Like, because I remember hearing something like what you guys have 5 years in college in Canada for.
Yeah, yeah. So like I'm 23. I'm turning 24 in September, and I have I think 2 or 3 more years of eligibility left. But I only want to play one more year and then either go pro overseas because I have a dual citizenship with Europe overseas or make the CFL, right? But yeah, so I started when I was 20, so I could have played till I was 26.
Jeez.
So I think it's 6 now with the COVID year. What happens is in Canada, if you your clock doesn't start until you go to the school.
Uh,
Yeah, so in the US, once you graduate, your clock starts, right? And
right.
then you got to go right away. Where in Canada, your clock doesn't start till you go. But if I was graduated high school and then I played some sort of club football in Canada, my clock would start. But if you, so if I graduated high school and then I went and worked a job for 5 years, and then at 23 I said, hey, I want to start playing university. I could play till I'm 28, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Now most guys don't want to do that, right? Like that's not the norm, but yeah, it's crazy how it works where your clock doesn't start till you hit the school.
That's impressive though. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people need a year or two to figure out like actually what they want to do and kind of visit life and see what's going on. Because at 18, right, you don't fully know exactly what you want to do.
No,
Sometimes you go to a school and you don't even like it, and then your clock's already started. And again, transfer portal and everything has made things a little bit easier nowadays. Back in my days when I was playing, we didn't have the transfer portal, so you could get say that you were in school in the ACC and you wanted to transfer another ACC school. Like some of the schools could say, no, you can't go anywhere in ACC. You got to go somewhere else. Then you're trying to figure it out if you got to go to JUCO or wherever you got to go, and your clock is
JUCO's a
still
grind.
yeah, it's just still rolling. So it's good for you guys that you guys have so many years. You guys also play spring ball up there.
No, we'll have spring practices. There's no, it's not the same.
Right.
It's more because what happens is when all the guys in wherever they're going to university ends like March, April-ish.
Mm.
So everybody is going home dispersed around the country. Well, what will happen is there will be some practices in the spring and summer with the guys who are staying there. A lot of guys will stay on campus, but a lot of guys will go home. So it's not really spring ball, it's more just summer workouts, spring workouts. So it's a whole different game. I know in the US, it's like 6 weeks dedicated. Bam, they're
Strictly to
going as
that,
hard as they,
yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
going as hard as they can, right?
Yeah. What is the strength and conditioning field like in the colleges? Like what is y'all's like normal day of training like in the weight room and how like what the coach is like in there? You guys have
100%.
like a full program you guys are following, or is it still like you guys are kind of doing it on your own?
Yeah, so every university football team in the country usually has their own strength coach, their own strength program. A lot of guys, some guys will, do what they want, but in the season, it's way different than the off season. In the season, it's usually one or two maintenance workouts a week, nothing crazy. I like to take it a bit harder during the week because if you're lifting heavier, more weights, you're gonna feel better come the game. You're not gonna feel as rusty. But in the off season, 4 to 6 days a week, depending on what position you are, what body type you are, and then it's just mostly just a lot of strength, plyometrics, contrast training, and going from there, like the basic movements, bench press, squat, and we don't do deadlifts. We do, hang power cleans, right? To explosive power. So an average day, I would say, if we did legs, it'd be I remember our leg off season workout from last uh, fall or last off season was it was a 6x4 front squat, and then it was 4x12 RDL, so barbell RDL, and then I think it was a 4x8 hip thrust, and then we did some single leg work with Bulgarian split squats, 4x8 each leg, and then we would finish with some core Russian twists, and then hit the sled with some weights or the bike. It's tough, but it's a lot of volume, but
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, personally, I don't love all that volume with the high weights and stuff. I think if we lighten the load a bit and worked out more, be more explosive. But for the average guy in university trying to gain weight and get stronger, it's good. But guys who have already built their base, right? It's kind of like, oh, I can squat 400 pounds. There's no need to squat 450. How's it gonna help my performance, right? Hey man, every coach is different, every athlete's different, so It just depends.
What are you guys doing like up there? Like, I would say for like preseason testing or like knowing like what are the coaches doing to kind of know you guys are primed and ready for the season, like going into it?
100%. So preseason testing for a lot of teams is just normal combine stuff. Shuttle, 10 yard. We do a lot of 10 yard burst up here, 40 yard dash, right? Vert, broad, bench. But I'd say the biggest thing up here in Canada, it's a lot more film study and knowing the game and the playbook. It's not more so because we have a lot of smaller players up here, right? So
Hmm.
it's more so film study. How can you use your leverage, right, as offense and defense, depending on what position you play. We also do a lot of special team work in the off season, like in our practice because it's a third of the game, right?
Yeah.
And up here in Canada, every ball is live, so every play's live, kick, whatever, right? So it's just a lot of fundamentals. I would say when you get to camp in the off season in Canada, it's more how can we prepare for the season rather than get you in shape kind of deal. You know what I mean? Where in the States, it's more, okay, we're gonna run stairs, we're gonna run stadiums, we're gonna do all this stuff to prepare our bodies. In Canada, it's more, okay, everybody should be ready, right? We should be in shape. We should know how to tackle and all that stuff. It's more, okay, let's get in the room, study the film, and it's more like walkthrough kind of deal. The first week, week or two of training camp. And then once we ramp it up, start getting in full pads and hitting more.
Yeah. I should have went to preseason in Canada, man, because it sounds like y'all ain't got no conditioning tests to start off with.
Well, I will say this: the one conditioning test, our school didn't do it, but I've heard from other schools the worst conditioning test is so you do 110-yard sprint, right? The defensive backs, receivers do under 16 seconds or under. Linebackers, running backs got to do 18 seconds under, and then any defensive line players got to do 20 seconds under. So you do a 110-yard sprint. It has to be under those times. You get 45 seconds rest, and they're just doing that 16 times.
Yep, that sounds like what I went through in college because that sucked
Yeah,
right there. I hated that when it was time for that to come. I mean, 16 seconds, coach, and we only got 45 seconds of rest, and we got 16 of them, no break halfway, and you're just
yeah,
constantly going. But I can see it is a good. I wouldn't say it's a great indicator, but it's an okay indicator of what guys actually took it serious in the off season to kind of be prepared
100%.
and ready coming back. But what are some of the things that you're doing with your athletes to kind of test them and kind of see where they're at to kind of and tracking them to kind of know whether they're ready for game or like what you need to dial in more on or focus more for their programming.
100%. So right now, all the athletes that I have, it's just off-season skill work. So we're just doing speed, mobility, explosiveness, flexibility on the field, right? So what I'll do is I'll get them out, and if it's their first session on the field, I'll just see how they move, right? Give them a bunch of a good dynamic warm up and then run them through like a shuttle test, right? Let's see how your running technique is, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, right now all my clients are just field clients where I got a couple football players, a couple hockey players. What we'll do, we'll go out on the field, we'll do speed, agility, plyometric training, and then once if they're a football player or whatever athlete they are, once we get to the end of the session, we'll start working on some skill work. But it's mostly just seeing how they can move and improving that. Because if I have a 15-year-old kid, right, 14, 15-year-old kid, they're still going through puberty or they haven't reached it yet. There's no need for us to get them really strong in a quick amount of time, right? So I just focus on the technique. How are they moving? How's their flexibility, mobility, explosiveness, all that kind of stuff? Because the biggest thing for me and what I've learned over the years is you can always get stronger over a span of three to 6 months. But once you're 18 and 19, it's harder to get faster, right? Once you get older, it's harder to get faster, quicker, more explosive than it is stronger.
Yeah, for sure. And are you struggling with, or do you have like a lack of, like equipment to use? Like if you're talking about like lasers and the 1080 machines, like all these different things, you see a lot of the speed coaches and people using in the stateside. Like, do you have access to that type of stuff, or like what are you lacking?
But honestly, we just, just there's no, I just use my phone at the time. Honestly, not lacking too much, just experience, right? Like trying to get more experience in the space. I'm still young, right? I'm only 23, so it's just I'm just lacking a lot of experience where the other guys that have 30 years, right? Like you said, 20, 30 years. So well, from an equipment standpoint, I'm not lacking anything, right? But I'm just building. I'm just building the experience, building the portfolio, building the brand, right? So I wouldn't say from what I'm lacking, we make it work. I'm trying to open my own facility in the next year or two, but it's so hard with that because I'm moving around, right, for football.
Hmm.
So it's like, well, I don't know where I'm going to be a year and a half down the road right now. So I'm just trying to build the social media, build the clientele, and then hopefully get a facility down the road.
I feel that. I mean, you never know because if you go into the CFL, you might be bouncing around from one team to another on one side of the Canada
Exactly.
to another side of Canada, right? You
Exactly.
might end up over here in Europe, right? You never know what country you'll be in. So then trying to leave your facility for somebody else to run. If you had one, if you look at 16-year-old Matt, what
Yeah.
would be your best piece of advice you would give to 16-year-old Matt now being 23 sitting here?
Biggest thing, just be patient. It's gonna happen. I mean, for me, like a lot of people in my story, they don't believe I can make it because I started late, right? And for me, I know I'm going to make it. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So the biggest thing, just be patient and just trust the process. I know it's a bit like over and over, said over and over again, trust the process, but I would just say be patient. I know it's going to happen. I just don't know when, right? But I know it's going to happen. That's the biggest thing. And I'd also say you can have a bunch of different plans, but the plan's going to change, but keep the goal the same. So a lot of people have a plan A, plan B. I don't have a plan A or B, I have a goal. And the plan's always changing, right? Like you said, if I go over to Europe, well, the goal is to play pro, right? So whether I'm in Europe or in Canada, I'm still reaching that goal playing professional, right? It's a very, very slim amount of people that even playing in college. When I went down for this for the workout in the States, guys from these top colleges are not playing. It's hard to make pro any league, right? So playing in Europe, a lot of guys are like, oh, I don't want to go over there. Da, da, da. It's not my style. It's a different league. Well, it's a pro. You're a pro. So I think the biggest thing for me, just when I was 16, tell myself just stay patient. It's going to happen.
For sure, bro. I mean, if you need help with the whole navigating the Europe space, if any people know, it's me and Jay, right? We've been over here for
Yeah,
eight
yeah.
years now, so we've been on plenty of teams, we've been to plenty of countries. And where are you a citizen of? Where's the dual passport from?
So I got the dual citizenship of Ireland, and
Okay.
so it's from my understanding, it's you can play anywhere. I'm a European import now. Not I'm not an American. So from my understanding, every team in Europe's allowed 10 European imports, and then they're only allowed four Americans.
Yeah. So I think,
So
yeah, that rule applies to every league outside of the European League of Football, which is crazy.
yeah,
So if you look at GFL, Austria, Denmark,
yeah,
Sweden, like all those different countries, like they have their own leagues. Like, yeah, you can
yeah,
come over here and you'll be considered an E import. But now in the ELF, because Ireland's still part of the UK and whatnot, I mean, you're an E import, but their rules are like eight E imports, and then four Americans, and then it also depends on where you played in college. There's a lot of rules to it. Not saying that it's all possible, bro. Like, so again, if you need help
yeah.
navigating the space, like, feel free to reach out to us. And like, once you're done with the whole college journey this year, and need some help, like, we're here to help you, bro. Like, that's the whole point of this
Appreciate
whole
it.
thing is definitely navigating and networking and
Appreciate
kind
it.
of getting everybody exposure. in whatever field they're trying to go in. Whether you're just trying to be down strength and conditioning, cool, we can help you down that, right? Whether you're trying to go play football, like, hey, we can help you go down that, man. And that's the whole
Try to
point
do
of,
both.
hey, well, if you're trying to do both, we've done both, right? Coaching and playing at the same time. So again, another space that we can help you navigate down, man. And I know it at a young age, like it's tricky, and like I can't even lie to you. Like you want to juggle a lot and try to figure out where you can go. And it's not to say that it can't be done. But like I said, bro, use this network and this platform to help you as much as you can. But on top of that, we got our last segment, bro. We got our 90-second round. We got our 90-second round.
Okay.
One word answers, right? It's gonna be 10 questions. It could be all across the board. Are you ready for it, bro?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 90 seconds on the clock. Favorite post-workout snack?
Piece of pie.
Favorite CFL team?
Winnipeg.
Best concert you've ever been to?
Never been to a concert.
Pizza or burger? Dream vacation spot?
Thailand.
Top athlete?
No, Iceland.
Okay.
Sorry.
Top athlete you've ever trained?
Will Smith. D1 hockey player.
Your favorite exercise?
Power clean.
Which do you prefer, a good sprint session or a heavy lift session?
Good sprint session.
Best coach in the industry?
Oh, geez. Myself.
What is your number one flaw as a coach?
Training too hard.
Would you rather be in an octagon with a gorilla, tiger, or a bear? And that is it, bro. Matt, we appreciate you coming on today, bro. Appreciate all the knowledge you dropped. And again, bro, use this platform, use it as much as you can to network with all the coaches that have been on and that are coming on too. And we can't wait to see 100%. Your journey, bro. So thank you.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
Thank you. And we're out.